Have you heard of this concept known as newsjacking? If not, today we are going to discuss newsjacking and how you can use it in your real estate business. Hi there, it's Michael Montgomery with Rev Real Estate School. Today we are talking about newsjacking. If you haven't heard this concept of newsjacking, it is so cool. Basically what you're doing is you're hitching a ride on some breaking news. So for example, if there's a breaking news story, you as the local professional are commenting or entertaining or educating the public on this, and you have to be quick. And then from there, you may get some press from journalists that are scrambling to get content for their news stories. So that's what newsjacking is. And as a real estate professional, this can work so well. Reason being is you are a local source of knowledge. You are a local professional. And there are local journalists that want local stories. Even if it's a national story or an international story, something that brings it back and has a local flair can be very important. And you aren't competing on the national level. What you want are those local journalists. So as a real estate agent, this can be a very powerful way for you to get your name out there and to get more press. When you are going about doing this, you do need to make sure that what you say is newsworthy. What do I mean by that? Well, when you're putting content out there, you may have heard the concept before that either you need to be educating, informing, or entertaining with your content, or else nobody's going to end up actually consuming it. Well, if you are newsjacking, you probably can drop the inform part. The information part is already out there. That's part of the breaking news story. What you are trying to do is educate the public somewhat on that concept or entertain them with your views and your points and that sort of thing. So understand what it is that the journalist is looking for. When you are preparing your newsjacking story to send out to journalists, we have to understand how journalists think and what they want. So what they want are the whys. They want the whys in the story. They don't necessarily need the information. The information's already been provided. That's part of the breaking news story, right? So what you want to do is you want to provide the whys and then how it can be tied back to your local community as a real estate agent. So when providing the story, think of it in three different parts. You can have the beginning, the middle, and the end. The beginning is still the information part. So although you don't want to jump into a lot of details on what is happening, you do want to let them know that I know what's happening right now. The second part, the middle, very, very important. This is where you provide the whys. So this is what's happening. This is why. This is why I think it's happening. This is where you are educating or you are entertaining as well. You're giving your points. And then the third section, the final, the end, is where you are just providing some takeaways. So you want this to be quick, you want it to be short, but you also want it to have all three of these parts. So how do we go about setting ourselves up for success so that we are able to see these stories as they are happening? Well, the first option is just to sit on Twitter and hit refresh, but most of us don't have the time for that. The second option, which works great, is just set up a Google News alert for the certain keywords that you are looking to target. So specifically, probably real estate in your community. Maybe you want to hit some other points. Maybe it's just your community. Maybe it is real estate on a national level, and then from there, you can distill it down with your newsjacking story to a local level. Use Google Alerts. These are one of the best possible ways that you can capture things that are happening, and you can set it up on a daily basis. So every morning or every evening, you're going to get the news alerts that are coming in, browse them really quickly, and it avoids you having to be on Twitter or being on the news 24/7. Next, when you're reaching out to journalists, how do we go about doing this? So most of them are going to be on Twitter. Twitter is a great way to connect with them. And like we've said before, you want to dig that well before you're thirsty. So connecting with them right off the bat and connecting with them before you actually have something to say is really important. So connect with them on Twitter so that they can start seeing what it is that you are all about. Now, the other thing about journalists is oftentimes their email addresses are pretty easy to find. They want stories, they want comments, especially when they are scrambling in order to put something out there. So make a list of their email addresses so that when this opportunity does come up, you're not the one that's actually scrambling trying to find their contact information. You already have it ready to rock and roll. Finally, some words of caution. You can probably see the inherent risks of commenting on a story that hasn't fully unfolded. Words of wisdom: avoid controversies. If there's a very politically charged issue, something that divides the public, don't necessarily comment on that unless you're doing it in a way that is, I would say, inclusive to the majority of the public. If you start getting into these controversial items, it can hurt your business very, very quickly. And especially if you have a news reporter or a journalist that takes what you're saying and then potentially manipulates it a little bit. Yes, that might not be your fault. It might not be the approach that you're after, but it can be taken that way. So to avoid this, just avoid controversial items altogether. The big thing is there's always new news that comes up. You don't have to jump on the most controversial items. Get yourself on a Google News alert, and then when these news items come up, you can start working away on it. But don't jump on the controversies. They can just be too much of a risk to your real estate business. Thank you for watching this video. Down in the comments below, have you heard of newsjacking, or have you done it before? Have you had any success with it? Thank you so much for watching. If this is bringing value to you, please consider subscribing. Thanks again. We'll see you in the next lesson.